Okay, so if I can start with the unit online shopping mall. For online shopping cart means like you should have items. Every item will have a value and a price. At the same time, in the shopping cart, you will have some actions. Initially, you will add an item. When you go to any website, what will happen? You will add all the items. You will check all the prices, and totally you will see the total cost and total number of values. And did you see I implemented regex called as sorry, this one called as underscore length. Means whenever you're doing length also, to help this function to execute, I do it. So how to test this functionality now? Let's go for the unit testing. So yesterday we discussed on few things that we thought of discussing. Let's do implement it. So first and foremost, we have an item. So here we have an item. This item is there. It takes the values to be integers and it will do it. Whatever you pass, it should take it. So now for the item, so what do I need to say? If I pass like a bag which is 34 pounds, it should work. If I execute, how do I test the unit test? Either go to the directory and do directly or indirectly. So if I go here, so ls, I am in this directory. So I need to go to the shopping mall, python-m unit test. And you remember every time we do unit test and the code coverage, right? If you feel like you don't want unit test, so means code coverage also does the same thing, in fact. But apart from unit testing, it also adds the code coverage. That's the reason most of the time you will see any person doing like this, that so they will do like a coverage run, and after that whatever command you have, say unit test, or like if you have a particular script, I do it, or else you have like a Django application or some Flask application, you can run that like that. So from now you can see that instead of I doing that, I will do coverage so and so. It will also execute same thing, but apart from executing, it will give coverage also. But to be frank, have you written anything here? So you didn't write anything. So you want to check what will be the output. If it's typically C, maybe I'll see like if there is a possibility to move it down, split down. Yeah. Yeah, don't get confused. It's very simple to understand. Yeah. So for you to better understand, I'm showing all of them here. If I do a split down, I can see that. So I want to do for this item. How I'm doing, let's see. I take two values and I get a constructor, right? So valid or not, all those use cases I want to test. So I will say and place here. So this is what my thoughts, right? For this, first I created an thing. If I ask, it will execute. So to check like whether it was executed or not, you can give a print, or like you can give a logger to get it done. You can see it is printed. So one test was done. If you want to be more clear, -v is also there, right? If you say -v, it will only tell. So I need not even execute this. So if I say -v, verbose, it will tell, hey, in this script was executed, test positive item creation. So if value is created, what you want to check? Maybe like, um, uh, item is equal to like this, and say I want to print the item. You can understand if something is created, what you can test. You should know that also. You see, when you are printing, you are getting like this. Does it make any sense for you to understand? You cannot understand, right? So it would be better if you write something. Means, whenever you're doing a print, there should be, I told, right? Print is for human beings. Whenever you're printing or REPR, for that we need to have a value, right? So I told underscore str underscore of like this. And what you're gonna return, every time we should return a string only. If I say I have an item and a price, so what I can say in a beautiful way, I can say item and price. self dot price. See, I have an item and price, and I'm just returning item and price. So maybe a column or something. Now, if you see, if I execute, so did you see that I am getting an answer like this now? If I can see here, bag and 34 I got. Because I wrote like this, I hit a bag column. Or if I write like, so bag cost is, bag price is, something I wrote in a meaningful way. You understood, right? Now you got it. So you need to check for the same thing in the output. In the output also, you should check the same thing. Don't you think like I can check self dot assert equal of this same thing, right? Whatever you're doing, the same thing should be happening. Because you give bag and item, you can do like this, check. If I execute, it says yes. Oh, it is saying like, oh, it's the second value is needed, right? Of course. I am taking the item and this both should be equal. Yeah, two things if I give. What it is saying, hey, assert error. You gave an object, but you told that object should be equal to this. Hope you remember. STR is for like print statements only. If you want to use any result which is coming from any object, we need to use REPR. Here REPR is not defined. Maybe like if here I want to say REPR is equal to underscore underscore str underscore. Means if a function, instead of repeating twice, if for two functions, if you want the same task to be done, I can go. Now it is saying, see here, in the left side, means this one item, I got like bag price is 34. And in the second result, you got like bag price is 34. What is the difference? So it is giving a string, that is also giving a string, right? Then what's the difference? Can you tell? This item, whenever it is giving str, the result is like this. So whereas here you are checking the REPR, raw strings. So if I do right now here R, you can see that. So left side is an REPR, right? If I do an str of it, already it's an str, right? What's the problem? Mm,
In string, bag price is 34 like this. If item is only getting
pardon?
the syntax, maybe bag price is 34 and item, it is not much.
No. So exactly correct only. Bag price, bag price is 34. It should be the same, but it's having extra codes, right? Mm, both are exactly same. If I do assert also, it should be the same, right? Assert item is equal to, I'm doing this check. So I got it out. Something is happening, right? So both are failing. So I will do a breakpoint now to check like why it is failing. If I go here, so I will ask, hey, what is item? It is a bag price is so and so. I will say like, type of item. Type is like this one. See, type is this one. But when you're printing, it is showing like this, right? So, okay. So then what should be the reason? STR is there, REPR is there for both. If I write like, REPR represented. STR is for like print only. So it should also do the same thing. If I say like continue and re-execute again, you can see it will come here and wait. And here I can ask, hey, what is item? So bag price is so and so. So bag price is so and so. Here you are getting that other value. Um, doesn't matter, like, it's a error it is saying. So whenever you are doing a check, equal to check, it will get this value like this, right? So it is adding extra quotes because that it is a string. It is doing that. Yeah. If I do like two placeholders, like in a traditional way, sometimes things works like this. If I execute now, okay, I want to quit and run again. Next. Oh, crazily it is happening. I don't know why. It is taking this much time. Simple thing, right? Item is there. I want to check. Okay, so it is a string. We are couldn't check it, like, leave it. So what else we can do better is like, for this item, the result is there, right? Say result, item created. For this item, we can also check the other things like um, self dot assert equal of item created dot item is equal to the bag, right? BAG. And similarly, it has a price. It should be like 24. What are you given? Yeah, it is working. Not sure why it is not working. That's it, simple as string actually. So it is working now. And similarly, so you can go like one more test saying like, so negative. Negative means like, so you are checking for like 35 or like, so dab something you are checking, which you didn't create. So you gave a bag, I'm checking for pen. So both are not there, right? What is saying? It should be equal. Instead of equal, I should say not equal. So this is another S kind of assert. Equal and not equal. If I do not equal, it is same like not equal to. So valid only we should pass. And it should check for all data types, right? So all data types you want to check. So negative means um, it's not like only everything will not be like purely positive or negative. Sometimes like all data types, data type inputs, if you want to check. So what I can check every time. So if I give the result, what I want to check is in I created by passing the string. So similarly, I need to pass other data types also, right? What if I pass like something like a bag, first of all, initially, the same bag I passed. Then what will happen? I will have a bag, right? So if I say it should be like bag, that I understood. And if you pass 34, it should be like 34. That is fine. Now I want to check only the data types. So means like, um, okay, if you see self dot assert, if I say sorry, self dot assert, you can see all the things are coming, right? Equal to is instance and so and so. This is what we'll check, is instance. So item created dot item. It should be like a string. Whether you give anything for it, it should take like a string. So I should check like it should be part of a string. And similarly, for the price, it should take like a float, right? No matter what you take, it should take like a float, because price is something like we should be thinking of. So now, instead of these two, I want to do like this. See here, I created. And if I ask if it is correct, yeah, it will execute and tell us. You see? So 34 is not an instance of float. Means everything should be treated as a so and so, because down the line it would be a problem. Now here you understood there is a problem in your code. This is called as test driven development. You understood that it is not working like this. So whatever you were given, you want to convert to a float and do it. You see, you changed your code, right? Based upon this. This is called as test driven development. You changed your code based upon what you got. Now, if I execute again, it will execute perfectly. Second one is treated as a float. First one is like a string. Now, so in this also, I want to check negative cases. So maybe like test a negative. I do like, this is my thought process actually. But like you can have your own way of naming. Say like positive or like happy. So testing like that, they people give. Say instead of a bag, if I give something like a number, okay. So if I give something like a 0, so even in that case also, the first one should be a string, second one should be the same. Say like, for you to better understand, I am doing like this here. So if I execute now, you can understand it is throwing an error. As you have given a number, it is taking like a number. So then obviously what happens in the code, when are you modifying, it will throw an error. So you should have two things. Either whenever someone gave a value, if the value is not a string, should throw an error, right? So else you should do it. So then what you can take here within the logic when user has given. So if item is not a string, if is in if not is instance of item comma string. So if it is not in a string, then what you don't want it. So we need to raise an exception. Exception you want to raise. Say invalid item name data type. Invalid item name data type. So you want to raise the exception. You don't want to process it. Now you see if the user raises. So instead of even checking here, okay, even if I comment that also, it will throw an error. You see the code was broken. So it is creating an exception. So till now you handled the exceptions, but have you ever handled an exception like this? You never handled exceptions in unit testing, right? So then how to handle the exceptions in unit testing? So if you want to handle like so in that case we need to go for with assert. With is a context manager. So self dot assert rises of. So means like we are checking that this assert will raise an exception. That's what you are telling and you are checking also. And you need to handle the same. So how I handle? Yeah, yeah. So what error you are expecting here? So you are saying like, an exception. So if you pass like any custom exception also you can do. Let's say here I wrote that it will accept some exception, raises of exception. And like within that I can start working. Say I can get this context. So exception context. So I can take this one and like, so print that context. And also like, it is raising means the point is like it should raise an exception now. That's the point. If this one didn't raise an exception, then it will throw an error. If it raises an exception, it will not. It will be happy. So what you're trying to say, it will raise an exception of this type. That's what you're trying to say. And similarly, if I take like some other data type, you know, This time instead of that, if I take a true, so this is also where. So instead of like an exception, if I do like a value error, value error means what? It is part of the exception, right? So even if you handle the value error also, or like overall exception also, both can be handled. If I do both the things, you can see, right? So this context is not generally needed. So this is needed whenever you want to get the result message. Say dot, this message is there, right? Invalid item name, the data type. If you want that, you can go here. Um, uh, Let me hold off it. So breakpoint. If I execute again further, it's not even going further. Negative. It is executing, right? Executing, but it's not coming to me. It will execute, right? Anyhow, so it won't result in anything. That's why we don't store the result. But we should take it once again. Yeah. So it should execute the next thing. See, you got the error, right? The value error. If I hold off this context, did you see context has this thing? And if I go directly for this context of DAR of context is name is not defined. Oh, just I removed here, right? Context or error, whatever you say. Say this error is there, error dot message. If I say exception or something, I can get it. So if I reload, so this is how it won't be that, um, so after doing, I'm asking here, what is error? So if I say DAR of error, it says like, yes, this is MSG. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Error dot MSG. So this error dot MSG. Okay. I want to print it. Okay. Maybe like here also I'm taking the error. So what I want to prove, I told you, right? So if I give something else also, it should work. At the same time, yeah, let's see now. You see now, it executing all the 4 cases. And it's not printing any message. So actually we should get this message. Ah, yeah. So I think like after coming out, I should ask this value. Yeah, that is my mistake. No. Yeah. So that is my bad. Okay, that is my mistake. Here, after coming out, I should ask, hey, what is the exception? In the same fashion, here also, here also. Yeah, after coming out of the context, I need to ask. If I ask now, yes, you see now you got right. After coming out of the exception, you got it. Now with this, you can ask for this value. They're like, what should be the type of it, or what is the error message, or something. I think this is what I mistake I didn't do earlier. If I say now, so this is how I debug anything. So I come out of it. You got a breakpoint. Error dot exception dot msg. If I say, yeah, I got a error, right? Message. So now I can check like this message is so and so or not. So value error in so and so, or like has no attribute. Okay, this is different, right? If I say error object as it is. It has like test case. Which test case? Name, object name, message. It has message. Okay. Error.msg directly. Uh, Error.exception. That we understood. It's an attribute error. No, not an attribute error. Here also you got an attribute error, right? Um, yeah, yeah. So I understood the problem now. So instead of doing now self dot, I can check like assert equal of what I want to check. Whenever I do like this, the value error, right? Value error or something. So then I can check for this one in str of this thing, str of error dot exception. I can check it. So if I execute now, yes, it worked, right? Did you see it worked perfectly for me now? So, it can be like, a bit boring because like real world problems will not be solved that easy. So you need to have more patience to understand. But this is how you do it. So, so here the problem which I did earlier is within the context I'm asking. So, so two things here. Whenever you wrote something within the logic, that should throw the exception which we placed. If it doesn't throw, then it will tell us as an issue. If say I wrote one more logic, okay. If I wrote like everything properly, say like give it properly, like like a bag, right? Instead of a bag, I want to say like pen. Same 34. I am saying that this will result in a value error exception. Did you see that? Assertion error, value error not raised. Did you understand? So when you write something, it should throw an error. If it is not throwing error, then also problem. So wherever you feel like something will result in an exceptions, you can do it. Hope now we understood how to do one unit test for a small test case. Class, I did this much. We did a lot of investment. Is it clear? Yes. Hello.
Yes, Uday, it's clear.
Yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. That's a problem with this. Sometimes the Zoom is crazy. We can't see anything. Okay. So similarly, we have like other things like shopping cart. So add items and all these things. For others also, we can do in the same way fashion. So to make the things easy for you, I will just take them to help you. So now how to test these things now? As we have tested in the same lines, if I can start working on it, we can take the shopping cart and do it that examples also. To make it easy, yeah. You see, in this case, you will understand. I wrote like multiple test cases for adding one element. See here, cart is equal to shopping cart dot add values. I added two values and I'm checking total result. In the shopping cart, if I say the length, you remember I wrote the length built-in function to help it understand. So whenever we do it now, you can notice that if I added two, it will have two. If I added like two right now, I can check not only the count, so each individual values also, the items also I am checking. Or like I'm adding them and I'm checking the prices or like items individually. Or like after adding this, I want to check the total. And observe, this is very interesting. This see here, assert equal to you wrote means total price. So when you did the total price, you expect some value, right? And if I execute right now, you will notice that. So totally there were like three test suites. This is one test suite, this is another, and third another test suite is there. See here it is throwing an error. If you go exactly, it will tell that yes, you have a problem here. What is saying? The result is like 32.40006, and here it is 32.4. in this kind of cases, so we cannot test equal exactly, right? So in that case, we should go for almost equal. If I do almost equal, that is almost like equal, right? That's what I'm trying to say. This is another kind of assert. And similarly, total sales you checked. And in another case, I found like, everywhere you are creating the shopping cart in every test case. To make the things easy, what we can do? We can do a test setup. So setup function, so setup method will execute every time, right? When you call a function in test case. So before calling everything, so every time it will do. So every time. So it's a new. So anyhow, at the end, the shopping cart will go. If you want like in a tear down, we can write. So we can do a tear down. You can write any name, but if you write these names, so they will understand clearly. In tear down, what we need to do? We need to just delete everything, right? So delete this cart. If I do not, you see, hope you understood what is a test setup and cart, right? So in this case, you created a cart and also you added some values also, and that you are assigning. For that one value, I'm checking like, how many values are there. So one action you did, based upon these actions, you are checking these many times. Here in every function, you're doing some actions. That's the difference between how the approaches were there here and there. Hope it's clear now. So this is all about this unit test. So next, we can go for many examples like this. You can go for like um, uh, what do you say? So testing the even the biggest things like what do you say, multiprocessing, multi-threading, all those things also you can do testing. But like over a period of time, when you're testing, you should understand. So maybe like that would be the last option for me. Last example, FGH. Multiprocessing. So if I have like a multiprocessing, how to test that? You've seen how to test even the exceptions also. Then like what if I have something like that? In that case, how to test? And if I have my script, say like example or like factorial .py. Factorial is a function I have that I want to execute. I think like we can rejoin. Zoom. So we can rejoin again. Okay. Now going to this factorial function. Here, I want to tell about a small factorial, how to work with a multiprocessing and test it. Say like I have one factorial function. So traditionally, if you want to execute, you can execute it. And so if you want to do with the multiprocessing, so how to do that and how to test it? That's a question. So if you want to do a multiprocessing, you can check that condition. Say like you want to take a queue and you want to check everything into that queue. So this is one good example for you to understand. You see here, I created a factorial. Generally, if you ask factorial of value, you can get the result. If I say like print of factorial of say 9, and I can navigate to the directory Python factorial, I got the result. So whichever happens, it will recursively go and it will execute it. But if I go with this one, what I'm doing here, factorial, I'm taking the factorial process of n. So every time I'm getting the n and I'm passing to the result. Result is a queue which I'm taking and I want to do. Say it will be helpful in this case where you see you created a multiprocessing.queue and you created a process for which you passed this value and the queue. So finally you got all the results, and if you can see the result queue, you can do. So in which case we can go for this kind of use cases means, let's say when you have a large number of values to test. So in that case we can go. But this is not actually testing the, so this like this. And if I go for one more example, say summation .py. I have another program this time. Here also I want to do the testing. So traditionally testing also we can do, like this also you can do. If I do traditional testing, what should I do? Self dot assert equal of, say, some numbers. Some numbers, you pass like two values and you expect the result. Say 2, 3 you give and you expect 5. So this is how it works, right? Python unit test. So Python. So it should be like a test. Till now I'm doing not like that. Test underscore summation. Here itself I'm writing everything here. So if I do here, so Python -m unit test. If I do, it's saying like, I executed one test. If I say CLS and -v, you can see this, the same test was executed. Now, if I want to do with a concurrency, I can tell the same thing again, define test some numbers multiprocessing. If I need to do the same thing using it here, so multiprocessing, when you're creating, you can create like this. Multiprocessing is a module which we can use for concurrently testing the results. So for multiple testing, there are multiple ways. If I do like pool.star map, if I give some values, each time it will give one values at a time. Say here, like if I have uh, two examples or three examples here. Say like I have 1, 2, 1, 2. If I give, I should get 3. And similarly, if I have 2 and 3, I should get 5. And if I have 3 and 4, I should get 7, right? Like this I have. Now here, I can pass the same values here. So I can say like 1, 2, next 2, 3, next 3, 4. So I can write everything in a single line or like this also. It is up to us how to do. Now the results I will check. What should be the results? If I execute, generally what will happen, you take two values and check the result, right? You take three values, you check the result. And here how to check? Self dot assert equal to, what is that? Results should be equal to what? So the 3, 5, 7, whatever I gave, exactly I do. In the sequence, when the first two were passed, I'll get 3. Second two were passed, I'll get this one. Third one is passed, I get this one. So, and like, so there is one more thing, like assert list equal. So equal means just it will check two values are equal or not. So list equal means it expects that it should be like a list and the value should be equal to that. And if you execute now, you can notice that. You see here? So it is just like checking. The second one, it is saying like it should be a list and the value should be equal like this. Hope it's clear how the testing is happening. But this is what where your logic, main logic is an ordinary function. It is not a multiprocessing. So to make your unit testings faster, you are doing like this. So the processes you're mentioning, like take only two processes and execute these things. So it will happen when you have a function and it needs some arguments, you pass it. The consolidated results you can take and execute it instead of you checking manually. So this is one thing. And the last example.
Uday,
Yes,
sorry.
please.
Yeah. What is the meaning of processes two here?
How many processes you want to create to execute them
Okay, we have
concurrently?
to mention that, right?
If you don't mention, it will take using the system CPU. If my
Okay.
CPU count is more, so number of cores are more, it will take more also. If it
Okay.
is less, it will take less.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. It is just an option for you to understand. That's it. Okay, fine. Going further. So let me go for one last example of this multiprocessing. Multiprocessing test underscore multiprocessing dot py. Till now, you don't have your main program, which is like a multiprocessor. So if I say assume I have one example like this, calculate area. If you give two things, it will calculate the area. For that, I have a logic. So within my main code, which is doing that, multiprocessing dot pool of process equal to 2, so and so. It is doing a zip of given two values. If you pass two values, it will do a zip. Means if you pass like two lists, it will take it. To make it easy for you to understand, I can say it is an integer and it is an integer. So it gonna give a result as an integer, right? So that is what you want to expect. So that is all the signature is. Whereas here, it will be a, can you tell me, list of integers, and here also list of integers. And list is not there for us. So from typing, import list, you did it. So now signature is easy for you to understand and digest. So if you are given two lists, you can zip them and you pass to it. So the star map is something like which I told, right, in multiprocessing. It will take it. Now, if I want to test these parallel executions, how this works. So first thing first, if I can write a test case, and in that first, I want to test the parallelly how things works. So if we can focus here, traditionally, let's say how to execute this one first. So traditionally, how I execute is say calculate parallel of, I give some values. I give like, some lengths, say like 1, 2, 3, and similarly some widths also, so 4, 5, 6 I have. If I pass these two lists to it, it will give me the result, right? Say print of result. Anything if you want to test, first you need to understand how it actually works. Okay, so it is trying to execute everything, but to be frank, there is no test. That's why when I did with the unit test, it's not working. I think it's struck. Today seems everything is like a struggle for me. So Python test multiprocessing. It is saying what? Oh, crazy, you cannot execute directly. Yes, you cannot execute this multiprocessing directly, right? Either we should go with a condition. You remember this one. This is the standard problem when you work with a multiprocessing. You cannot execute directly. Either we should execute part of another thing or like within a underscore. Because it is executing multiple processes. Even your main program is also one of the process. Due to that, it will go recursively and it will throw in error. To avoid that, we need to do like this. You see, just writing this condition made it a lot of things, right? So maybe like, to make the things easy, follow the best practices. I have example. So maybe like, calculate area. Okay. Calculate area is your thing that you wrote. For this, you want to test. So how I can do for this? The same example I need to do, right? So test underscore calculate area. dot py. I create. So I just don't want these two here. I can remove. The main logic only will execute here. So for that, I need to do the test case. In the test case, I write it. So what I need to do, first of all, I need to import that, right? So from calculate area, import. So generally, many people get a doubt. Sir, if there are two functions and this function is further using the second function, should I import both the functions or only the first one? Which I need? You can just import what you need. That will take care of because the second function you're not calling from your code. You're calling the second function from here, right? So that's why you're not bothered. So these are like real-time examples. If I take this example now if I want to test it, the same thing what I did here. So I need to take two lists and I need to execute, right? The same thing I do here. So I placed it separately for us to understand. So lengths, what are the lengths I have? What are the breadths I have? So the result what I'm expecting. So 1, 2, 3. So here also which you can make it like, so 4, 5, 6. What you are expecting. So here when I executed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I got like, so 10, this one, so and so. I can check the same thing. So I can do the test. So now as I wrote a unit test separately, -m unit test -v, if I do, it will just go and execute it. So if there is any issue, it will throw an error. What is saying? Hey, you wrote a list of a list. It should be a single list, right? You see now it is working. To make the things easy, so people write in a different lines. That's it. If I say I want to write the same test in a different, you see, if I do like a test2, instead of writing the main logic here, did you see variables were placed separately, like input separately and so and so? In this way, if you place, so tomorrow if you want to change or create a new test case also, it would be easy. I can make the things clumsy or I can make it like this. So both ways it will work. For these values, the values will be so and so. For those values, it will be so. So now we see here, based upon that, I can give more examples. You see, the values were empty and it did. See, don't you think syntax will be same? Most of the cases, the unit test will be same. All unit tests will be same if you go to the project. Slight differences will be there. And also if you pass irregular values, it will do a value error exception. So that is what I told, right? You get it. And if you want to catch hold of, what is saying? Hey, I'm not getting value error. Did you see when I wrote, it should get it, right? If I do irregular. So when I passed also, it is working. It is saying that value error is not raised. So it means like even if you give values also, it is working. So let us see like why it is not doing. What is the result? If I see here, you are getting values. So because like here, in this case here, zip is there, right? Zip will take whichever is the minimum, it will take that one and it will give the result. But did you see that it is not throwing any value error? If you give irregular values also, in 1, if you give 2, 1, if you give 3 also, it is taking the minimum, right? If I take like one of them as so and so, if I execute this code, Python, so calculate area, you see, the second case it is giving 2 values, but in fact it is a mistake from your side. It should not do the like that. In that case, what you can write, you can modify. See here, this is called a test-driven development. Based upon the test results, you are modifying your code. If length of, you are not bothered about the values. If the length of lengths is not equal to, so length of widths, then you want to raise value error. So both give equal number of values for both lengths and widths, right? We should not be at the mercy of something else. Whatever you do, it should be exactly like what you did. So did you see it thrown an error? So value error. In traditional code, how you do? You need to do validations. So accept value error as exception. You write like exception. If I execute now, you can notice your code is working, right? So in the same fashion, if I do this one also, so I want the same thing. Now you see in this case, as I didn't do this one, now it is throwing. If I place inside, now it should also work. Did you see how I wrote it? I showed you how to do multiprocessing, how to do multi-threading. So everything I showed you literally. So is there anything else that you are looking for? If not, we can go for the next big things. After this unit testing, in unit testing, so you have seen all these kinds of things. The next big thing is about mocking. How to do mocking, how it works. So traditional things you have gone. So the next thing is about mocking. What is a mocking? In which case we need to go? GHI. Okay. Okay. What is mocking means like, so when you go in real time, we need to work with like different kinds of things. So in the process, we will understand like how things are working in different ways. For you to better understand, yeah, for you to better understand, let's see if I can do for you to understand where I can start. Yeah. Okay. First, I will say a underscore mocking dot ipynd. I'm creating a Jupyter notebook now. So here I take a Python kernel to understand it. So what is mocking? So why you need, I'll tell. Whenever you are working with a third parties, say like a database, or like you are working with something like a REST API or someone else. If you are testing your work, so let's say you have a job where you are connecting to a database and you are doing some activity. Say in AWS cloud, you are working with AWS RDS database and you are getting something. You are not here to test whether AWS RDS is working properly or not. We are assuming that every system is perfect and you test your code only, right? So like that, in many cases, you don't want to touch other functionalities. You want to touch only this function. In those kind of cases, this mocking will help you. So what is this mock? What we can work with it? In unit test, there is some module called as mock. So we can work with it to understand. If I say help of mock, you'll understand that. In unittest.mock I have, so I'll be helpful in different ways. It is showing all the examples and so and so. And if I do the dir of it, print of dir of mock, till now you know what is testing, so everything is clear. So from here you will feel everything like a magic. You see, it has a lot of attributes are there. So we can go, so whether something is called or not, is it an instance, is it a magic, is it a missing? So like that, many things are there. So we will see the most common things like return values when you have a function. How it works, let me tell you. First of all, let me create a small mock object. M is equal to mock. Mock.mock. I'm creating a mock object. So after creating this mock object, I'm asking, hey, what is a mock? Hey, I created an object at this location. What all things we can do this mock? So now, if I ask like, it don't have any value, just I created out of blue. If I say like mock.ifu, it is saying yes, value is there. So value of mock dot something I'm asking. No, no matter what data type you ask, it will take it. Then how sir it is working? I just am curious like what attributes it has. If you are curious to see, did you see this something and foo were not actually there? Whenever you're doing, it is adding. let's say if I do like, so m dot Uday, I don't even, I give a creating, just I'm asking. Whenever I'm asking, if I see now, you can say same dir of m if I do. Did you see Uday came here? Means whenever you access any attribute, it will automatically create it. So then what is the point of this object, sir? It is crazy. Yes. So first things first, we can check. Any object we can execute and check like, hey, m.foo. Just now we did, right? I'm asking. M.foo, is it part of the mock dot so and so? We know like is instance. So these are all instances of this. So if I ask like bar, for the first time I'm doing, right? First time I'm doing here. And similarly, from a mock, you're making a call also. If I call mock object, that is also same. So this is how this is correct. And similarly, I can check like these values are not the same. If I say like m.foo, it will say m.foo. And if I say like m.bar, m.foo and m.bar, these are two separate instances. See, every time when we are accessing, it is creating an object and storing in the backend. So if you compare those results, these are all not equal. We know that if you want to compare two objects, so we have is operator. Only for the is, if you check like say like if it is not part of it, we say like is not instead of not is. So that's why in most interview questions this question will come. And in the same fashion, if I assign something, then I can check like value is perfect or not. First thing we understood is the mock object is something crazy. So it will take whatever the object call you make, it will create that object in the backend. Whereas if you store, assign some value, that also will be stored. And assigning can be like three ways. Either like that you can assign, or like m dot the mock configure mock of bar is equal to bars. So directly you can do, so indirectly you can do, and also you can do other way. So means like you made a mock call, right? So if you want to make a mock call and you want to get the result, say if I say mock call, I just got a mock object, means it's creating a new instance again. Rather, if this mock object should return something else, I can do like this. So if I do now, I get the mock will be so and so. So if you want to just assign values, you just do like this, or indirectly like this also. But if you want to make it like a function call or something, and you want to get a result, then you should do like a return value. This return value is something built in. And at the same time, there is one more thing, you know. So if I have something like a side effects, this is very interesting. If I say a side effects, so return value means only one, right? Whenever you're making a call, you get it. Whereas m dot side effects, if I do, every time I call, next to three times, I will get three values. Next, if I give values, the next three times when I'm making a call, I will get these three values. And subsequently, so three you asked, and after that, if you ask, it will throw in error. So if you say like, as ex, you can say, instead of a pass, you can print it. Or er of x. It is executing. So side effect, I gave like side effect is something. So like that, whenever I do, it will do it. Or like I can do multiple assets, taking like, I take it 1, 2, 3 values. So if everything is good, so fine. And subsequently it's showing. And like, so many things like this. So then like, what is the purpose of it, sir? You pass like call logs, you pass it. So I till now I'm actually telling that how these marks works, what is its grammar and so and so. In real time, what is the purpose of these marks? So you don't know, right? You felt crazy. So it is doing all kinds of nonsense. What all we can understand now. To understand better, let me create one good mock. So this time I am doing like this. This time mock.mock I told, right? Specifically I'm asking Unittest.mock of mock. I created a simple mock object. Name I gave, age I gave, salary, absence. Means I created a one beautiful thing. Now I'm asking like, hey, what is this mock? After creating, I'm asking. It says yes, it is an object. It has these values. Now individually for this I can ask each values. As these objects were created, you can ask, right? Each of the values you can ask. This is good. At the same time, you were asking like mock.return value. What is the return value of this mock? If I ask, hey, what is the return value? Did you see? Here I give all the variables, name, age, so and so. So if I ask for any variable which is not there, say something which is not present. Okay, one second. Something which is not present. Say like not present. In the original definition, this not present is not there. If you ask it, what will happen? For the things which you have defined, you are getting the predefined values. For the thing which you didn't define, it is creating a new object and saying like, hey, new mock object is created. That's it. So hope it's clear. And at the same time, name, when you gave like name is equal to Uday, here name also it is not showing like Uday, because certain attributes it has an understanding. That's why it's saying Uday.name instead of name. But like when you ask a value, it will show. And similarly, return value when you are asking, it will show like this. Return value is helpful whenever you are doing with these things. And as I told you just now, when you're trying to ask anything which is not defined also, it will give. Return value is different, return values is different. Return value is the only thing which will take when you're making a function call, it will help. So whereas return values means it will think like a undefined object. Similarly, if I define something like this, say mock is equal to return values of something. Then subsequently, if I ask, I get the results. Mock of 1, mock of 2, all these calls will execute. And similarly, the most important thing, you created a mock call. So you created a mock object and you are making some calls. And you want to check those calls, then you can see how I can do. I can ask, hey, what is the return value? Return value didn't define. You wrote like return values. Means it's an ordinary attribute. If I say return values, what are you got? You got. How many calls were done? After creating this mock object, 3 times you called, right? So that mock dot calls. With respect to that mock, you can say, what are the call arguments? So 3 times you passed, right? So what is the latest call arguments? So signature 1 4 foo equal to bar. You got like 1 4 foo equal to bar. And if you want all the calls, what are 3 calls you told, right? 3 calls, call arguments if you want, call args list. So whether it is called or not. So why these things are? So when are you doing a unit test? So these will be like really helpful for you in understanding. Even if you say like assert called or not, if something is called or not, you can check it. And at the same time, see here, very interesting. If I define a mock, which is having a side effect of key error is equal to so and so. So whenever you are making a call, this side effect will execute. Earlier, you remember, I told like, so when you pass these values, if you pass like an ordinary attributes, you can access like an attributes. But if you pass like a return value, whenever you're making a call, you will get it. But if you pass like a side effect, so when you're making a call, it will come. And you can have multiple side effects, like multiple values subsequently. So in this case, I'm calling, that's why side effect means I got like this. Okay, sir, this is also fine. Then like, what is the purpose of it? Let me not take too much time and explain you a small use case. Say I have one function. Say, let me take a b mocking.py. I created a small py file. So what I want to do is like, I have a function like this. I'm taking like unittest.mock, import mock, and like I'm doing some function. I'm taking some object and a number. Whenever you give value, it should do. So how to do traditionally? I will do foo, and for that I need to take some object, and I'm saying like method of number is equal to something. Say like you cannot directly do it. Maybe like I want to check. So how to check? It's of type. Okay. If I pass some object, I need to pass, right? I'll create like a custom class. Um, my class pass I created. So I is equal to my class instance. I wrote it. Now I'm passing like foo of I comma. So say like 12. If I do now, so let's see if I execute how it works. Come on, come on. Python b so and so. If I execute, it's saying my class has no attribute called as an object method, right? Say like method is equal to something 10. So if I execute right now, it will execute. Int object is not callable. Okay, method. Okay, define method of self. You define a method, and so you take what are the number you get it. So value, and for that value you want to add something. The result you are passing, right? Method of so and so. Maybe like, so you have a, so value is equal to something. That value, whatever you pass, you want to do. Define init underscore of so and so self dot val is equal to initially 0 issue. So whenever you are passed some value, so value, so to the power of something or something, you are updating it. Self dot value is equal to value. What are you getting? Now if you see here, if I execute, I get it. It is executing. So for doing this much task, I did like I created a class, like instances and values, and I did this logic. And if I need to do the test case, you know, so what do you mean? I need to create all these things and do, but without even creating it, can we do it? This test. So that is a magic. So if I want to do the test, so I do like, again, import unit test. I do it. So after that, I write my test class test foo. So unit test dot test case, the same thing. And here I do the test. So I want to do the same test, what I did here in the top. So first I need to create a mock object. That object need to be there. All the point of creating this object, right? The instance object. This object I created, and for that I passed, right? This is what you understood. But if this object need to be passed, you need to add all these things. But without even doing that, if I want to create, say like some object is equal to, I do like mock. So you imported this mock, right? Small capital, you see the difference. Mock of, and within that I face, if I do some object, this same foo, and like some object, I pass, and I'm passing like 23. Whatever you did it as it is, I'm doing. So now if you see, if I execute it, okay, I need to do the unit test, right? -m unit test -v. If I execute, it is getting an execution. It will not even throw an error, in fact. So the problem with this mock is that if you want to replicate exactly, so here you want to have an object which will have a method. So we should specify the method. Whenever you're creating the object, and you can say like this, now it will have the object. So, and now we can test like whether this object is called or not. Means how the call is happening from the foo instance is happening. You go give the value and it is executing, right? So this foo object is created. That object you are passing to it. So that is how your method is called indirectly, right? Here. So don't you see here? Whenever you execute this one, this function, this method will execute, right? So instead of this, what will happen? Foo dot method will execute, right? Of this number, what are is. So that's what your main function is executed or not. That if you want to test, if you have that kind of logic, you can do it. Some object dot method dot called once. Only once you call. That's what I am trying to say. So it is saying yes. So ram so and so. You tell. So it is executing. Fine. And like so here you placed a method. That's the main point here. And okay, it can be like a bit confusing for you. Let me go with one more example. So mocking is like crazy. So then like mock patch I will tell. Then you will slowly understand how these things are working. Say like I'm going to a OS module, and I want to check like OS dot list dir. I think this one you can better relate, right? If I say assume it like a ordinary program, Python, C so and so. If I execute, what will happen? It will give the current directory, what are the values are there. So if I want to test that, the value should be something else. Means like I have one test case. Say I have. Okay, when I did it, I got the current directory, what files are there. Whereas if I do the same thing in another, I want this function to do like this. I'm saying that this list should have assert like this. But sir, it is not correct, right? When you do the current directory, you got like current directory, what are the list of files, you got it. So then if I do a test case like this, will it really work or not? Yes, it won't work. Then how to facilitate it should work like that? And say like to make it, okay, so to make it easy for you to understand, let me create a test OAS dir. That's what you want to do, right? Dir. So unit test dot test case. So this is what you do, unit test dot test case. I'm making it inside. I can make it like self. So instead of doing like this, I can also do in the other way also, right? Assert equal. If you want more control, assert equal of, what is that I'm saying? Test1 is equal to OS dot list dir. So if I do like OS dot list dir, the result should be equal. So then how it will actually be equal? That's a point, right? Whole point. So if I execute Python CLS and Python -m unit test, it is saying like I executed 0 test cases, or like you can specifically go if underscore name underscore is equal to underscore main underscore, you can ask like unit test dot main, where okay, I need to do import unit test. Okay, that's why I'm doing exactly Python C so and so mock patch. It will execute and get the result. What it is saying? Hey, this is not possible. It is an assertion error. then how can you say that this is not executing? This is where interesting happens. I told right, mark is for creating any objects. So for any object, if you want to create, you can also create one object for like mark.patch. So this is very interesting. You need to use something called as mark.patch. So unit test dot mark.patch of this one. What you're trying to say is that, hey, whenever the user is calling, anything is fine. Whenever the user is calling os.listdir, so you patch it with something else. So you patch it with an object which can result this one like a test. So for that, like you pass the second value. You see now? So maybe like I'll do like unit test dot from unit test import mock. Whenever you have too much things, you can do like this. You do know, you can understand. CLS and so and so. So now you understood in this case, it is working perfectly. Did you see? After writing this, what you're trying to say, whenever an object is created, you do it. If I comment that one, it will throw an error. But if I uncomment it, what you're trying to say? Though you know the current directory is having only 3 values, and that is your values, but still you get the other things. Now, did you understand? So whenever you want a situations like this, say you want to go to a third-party target server and execute some things. Assuming that the third-party server has the files or something else, instead of you testing, you can do like this. And the same mock testing you can also do in another ways. So this is in one line I did, right? So you can do the same thing in a different ways. If I say like test2, so here I want to mock, but I don't want to place here. So what I do in the second case, I will pass like the inside. Say for this, I want to take like a mock result, mock dir, and here I write the things that mock list dir. I need to do like this. See, a mock can be done directly in the one line also, or else indirectly you can do mock, and like you do the list dir dot return ins also, you get it. I know this is crazy, but it should be like this. Okay, I'm testing 2 right now. I should say test 2. If I execute right now, you get it. Because here I wrote the return value as 2, test 2. And in the same fashion, if you want to do something else also, say like one more test case. If I want to do, I can do like this something. See here, at the script level, individually mock patching can be done at the individual test case level. But for all the test cases, if you want, means like for the test suite itself, if you want, so you can do like, say I have a test suite, I want to execute. For this entire test suite, it will happen. So means like I can say test underscore not so and so test 4 or 3 or something, I do execute here. So here also it is being used. But the point is, whenever you're doing a patch, so in this case, you didn't use it. You didn't need the list dir. That's why only self is there. Whereas in this case, you need it. That's why you should write like mock dir. You write any name, it doesn't matter. So if you start with mock, it's easy for anyone to understand. So means whatever you mocked it, that will come. For that, if you write a return value, the same thing will come. Here I wrote like this. So I can check the same. And if I execute the same thing here, you can notice if I say 3 value, right? If I execute, it will say like that. Hope it's clear. Did you understand now how the mocking is working? Mock patching. So I know it is a bit of like so confusion, but slowly you will get to it.
Yeah.
So let me go for one last example. Say if I go for like example and I pass on these things there. you'll understand. Okay. Similarly, in the B, if I start working, say like I am writing same like yesterday how I wrote, I will write a small main file, main.py file, and here I'll write a class. This class is mainly into taking two values. One is a discount, which is a class variable, and method, which is having like, so whatever the price you give, it will multiply with the discount and give the result. That's it. So now what we will do here, for this, if I want to write a test case, if I want to write a test case, I write like test underscore main. That is what my expectation. So now here I want to write a test case, like whether something is equal or not, or so and so. Okay, yeah, see here. I wrote one thing. So test patch instance attribute. So the point is like here I have price equal to pricer, means what are the instance I can create. For that instance, I pass like discount is equal to modifying. So they gave the discount as 0.58. I modified the discount and I'm checking the result. So now if you can notice it here, you see now how it is working. Oh, it is going to the testing 2. So testing patches. So this one it should execute, right? Test. So for this to execute, test underscore patch so and so, it is executing the other test cases in the test suite. So if I need to execute, I think, where am I right now? Present working directory. I should be in the B example. Python test main. It's not going test script. It's going. So where I am, ls. Okay, I need to go to the I and cd and b so and so. Yeah, that's a problem. If I say cls and python hyphen em unit test hyphen v, if I execute, so it is executing this one patch instance. Fine. Now for this, if I want to add something, you see here one more thing. This time I'm doing one more discount. I'm modifying the discount and I'm just creating. Hey, did you understand what I'm trying to say? I created a variable called as pricer dot this pricer dot discount. I'm modifying and then creating. Did you understand what I'm trying to do? So till now, if you have a class, so how it actually works? So the class, we can create an instance, right? So how I did this one, I'm telling. If I created instance and I'm passing the values. So traditionally, how you work on a class? You create an instance and you pass the values and then you check what is the value of this one. So this is how you do it. Assert this one. This is what you checked first case. In the second case, what I'm checking is that, so it is slightly different. Means like indirectly you also can understand. So first I'm marking this value. The class variable I'm changing this first. Then I'm creating this value and I'm asking, hey, both are equal or not. Means if you change the class variable value and then create a class instance, will have the percentage as 75 or this one? That's what we need to understand, right? So what are the changes you made? Will it work or not? Yeah. What are the changes you made to the class instance? Class variables, and then you create an instance. The changed class variable values will be there. This is another interesting thing. And like if you have something like a expected failure or something, I wrote. So this time see here, within here also we can do a mock patch. Mock.patch.object of pricer I want to update with a percentage of 1. I'm saying percentage of 1 means what? This percentage means, did it have anything like a percentage? There is no attribute like a percentage, right? So I'm telling that there should be one attribute called as price. thing and I want to work on it. So first of all, I will remove that and see here. You see now what will happen? It is saying what? Attribute error. So where? So in the get original. So in which test case it failed? So patched incorrect value. Did you all understand what I'm trying to say? See, you are doing a patch, right? Patch means what? You, instead of the original object, you want to change yours. Till now you didn't do anything. You did a traditional way. But now you want to modify. If you want to modify, what you can modify? Either a discount you can update or this functionality you can change. But is there anything a word called as percentage? No, right? So as you are trying to do this, it will throw an error. So it is expected failure because of that. Because like, so there is no attribute, right? No percentage attribute. So that's what I'm trying to say. Mock means you can create anything what you want. Patch is different. Mock is for creating an object. Patch is for linking to the original code. As there is no attribute like this, it will not even do anything for us. So that's what to understand for you because of this. So that's what I wrote, expected failure, because of this reason. So I hope you understood. You cannot patch this one. Whereas I can take the same example and I can do by patching it. So to make it easy, so with a correct, instead of incorrect, I make like a correct class attribute. Instead of discount, if I say discount, right? Exactly, if I go here and bring this variable called as discount and I patch it. So now you see here, after patching, I'll get some result. If I execute, I'm getting some result, right? If I say like 1%, 1% means I got it whatever I want. And like I can do whatever I want. And if I say within the patch, I got that value, right? Means this discount will be 1 only within this duration. If I come out of this context, what is the original value? The same thing I'll get. So the original is like 80%, right? So I get like that 80% only here. So it is becoming 75% because you changed here, right, in the top. So in the top you changed. So that's why it became like 75% now. So it's saying, hey, I got 75, it's not 80. As I changed here, the class level changes were done. So 75 if I do, it will execute. Is it clear? So to avoid this kind of leakages only, we create a setup class where you can place every time setup. In that setup, you create the pricer object. So, but so fine. In this case, you are okay. You got the result as you need. We understood now why we are doing these things, expected failure, mock, and all these things. So one last example to say, you created this calculator example multiple times. I do the same example again. Again, main.py I wrote. So I write a small function. Sorry, so a small class. Sum of two values. It will sleep for 10 seconds and then give the result. Just to mimic a long running process, I did it. Okay. So if I need to do the test calculator. So how do I do a calculator test? I write the test where I write the setup and do execute. This is an ordinary class. Setup, you create the class instance and you do it. If you pass two values, you wait for those 3 seconds or 4 seconds and you get the result, right? Fine. So this is an ordinary test class. And similarly, for this, if you want to do like mocking and mocking side effects and others, instead of writing all in one place, I can write in multiple things. So I want to do a mock. Mock means like I will create one more class. From now, you can, instead of placing all in one place, I can do something like this. You see here? You see now, this time what I did? In the original calculator, you have function and you did everything, right? So instead of going to the main function, your main function, you can do like a mock sum. What I'm trying to say, whenever you have a large function, so very long running process or costly one, but like you don't want to do on it, in that case we can go with this. So you created a custom sum function, and whenever the sum function was called inside, instead of going to the original function, it will go to your matched one. See how I'm matching it. I'm saying main.calculator.sum means from the main program. This is the main, right? In this main, you have a calculator. In that sum is there. That you want to mock. So that's why you wrote it. Here, the most important thing is signature, how you are writing. If you just write like calculator, it cannot understand. So in the relative directory, so the file name, script name, then the class name, then the variable name. And what is this side effect means? Whenever the user is making a call to this object, call to this object you want. So there are two types of things which you can mark. Either the functions or the values, right? If you have functions, you do like this. But if you have a value, say like, so dozen is equal to 12 is a value. And if you want to mark a value, then instead of a side effect, you should say like a written value. So that's one thing, right? That's another thing to say. And like in the mocking, so one more thing to say, yeah, written value, for that I write in a separate function. You see mocking. Side effects is one way, and other one is like value. In this case, instead of you defining a separate function and you passing the values in the side effect, in mocking, like directly you write return value. Hope you understood the difference. In this case, you write a separate function, and that function returns the result you are taking, and you write a custom function to execute something. Whereas here, in this case, you just writing a return value. Hey, whenever someone called it, you will get it. So that is how it works. So this is how, so the unit tests and these things are there. And like, we can stop here. So tomorrow, so we can work on the other things. I will add more examples. Just follow them, as it like too much of the content.